In a media bombshell story, Huw Edwards has been named as the BBC presenter at the centre of the sex pics scandal, first reported by the Sun newspaper on Friday. To react to this breaking news, I'm joined now by one of the biggest faces and names in the history of the BBC, their former chief political correspondent, John Sargent. John, can we talk about Huw Edwards, the human being first, a man you know well?
Yes, I mean, I've known him as a friend and a colleague for more than 30 years. And when I first heard a few days ago that it was likely, if not known for certain, that he was the suspect presenter, I thought, well, this doesn't match with my knowledge of him or my feelings about him, because he was always so sensible and cool, and the idea that he'd be shouting at people, making threats, bullying them, and then involved in a crazy, risky adventure, if that's what he was involved in, involving large sums of money. And I thought, blimey, this can't be the Huw I know. And of course, my overwhelming feeling tonight is, thank goodness they're now talking about duty of care. Because poor old Huw, I have to say poor old Huw, is suffering in a mental hospital or in a mental ward of a hospital, and he's obviously very seriously ill. Well, this isn't the moment to go on about, but should he have done this and should he have done that? And I say, speaking as an old friend, thank goodness, let's hope he gets better soon. But this is not to say that all these things shouldn't be properly investigated, and I'm glad the Sun has decided for the moment to stop making these allegations. It may be that the media frenzy can now be at the very least paused, and people can start thinking about what Prince William says. We've got to think about more about the need for openness when it comes to talking about mental health. Because the moment something like this comes up, it's mental health, and then complete chaos reigns for several days. Well, that shouldn't have happened.
Indeed. I mean, knowing Huw Edwards, do you have any sense of the scale of his mental health issues? And do you worry for his welfare tonight?
I certainly do worry about it because, you think of the pressure that he's been under. Death of the Queen, coronation, another coronation in Scotland, and everyone just saying, oh, very good, you do it as you normally do it well. But these are very tricky moments, and he's got to set the tone for these big occasions. So it's not a matter of just factual reporting. He's expected to be somehow the sort of wise man, the guru, who can work out how the United Kingdom is getting on and how it should be getting on. Well, that's a terrific weight to bear. And of course, the moment you're in public life to the extent he is, he can't go out, he can't go shopping, he can't do anything without people saying, oh, yeah, that's Huw Edwards.
Indeed so. Married, of course, with 5 children. Devastating for the family, John.
Devastating for the family. Vicky, his wife, she used to work with me. She was a producer, so I know her. Extremely nice, balanced couple, I thought. And the idea that they've got to explain all this to their children, as well as the whole world, and that everything is in the public gaze. I mean, this is, for all of us, I think, who've had any dealings at all with sort of public, activity, whether politicians or media people, this is the ultimate nightmare, isn't it? That you've cracked out, that's what's happened to him. Suffering from mental illness, and that's what's happening for him. If Vicky says that's it, I'm sure it's right. And just think of doing all that with everybody, everyone in the hospital, everyone who you see in the street, everyone watching the cars. And you think this is a sort of horrible situation for anyone. Talk about the glare of publicity. Blimey. It couldn't get much worse, could it?
No, John, you'll be well aware as a veteran of political reporting that politicians don't like hypothetical questions, but I've got one for you. I think it's important, I think it's relevant to ask. These are just allegations against Huw Edwards at the moment. If they were to be substantiated, what might the impact be on the reputation of the BBC News operation and the wider organisation of the BBC?
Well, of course, the moment you get anywhere near proving what happened, you can then contrast that with how did the BBC behave. In this case, slowly, not very impressively. They sent one email, made one phone call that wasn't replied to. So if this is what happens, if it looks as if all these allegations turn out to be true, the way the BBC handled it is not looking at all good. And the only thing you can say is, all right, well, in the last few days from the time that the Director General...
Now, we've just lost the line.
What was the best thing to do?
There you go. Well, look, John, I don't know if we can get the line back to you, because I've just got one final question to ask you, if I can, which is just the reputation, not just in terms of the BBC's handling of this, and there looks to be a case to answer, particularly that 7-week wait between the allegations first arriving and then being put to Edwards himself. But what about the brand of the BBC? If these allegations are proven to have happened, and that's a big if, we don't know, they're just allegations at the moment, but if they were to be proven, what about the reputational damage and the public's trust in those 3 iconic letters of B, B and C?
Sure, no. All these things are bound to, at least in the short term, eradicate trust in the BBC. That is perfectly true. All you can do, I suppose, is to say what other organisation would have tried to report in the detail the BBC News Department reported this particular. Can you imagine? This is the person they've worked with for many years, and they're being asked to report as if he wasn't involved with them. I mean, that is an extraordinarily difficult test, isn't it? So I don't think it's all sort of simple, oh, well, the BBC suffers. There must be some people who think, well, you know, the thing about the BBC is that they are trying, and the answer is they are trying and they matter. We all care about the BBC. That makes a big difference.
No better man to speak to tonight, John Sargent. Thank you so much for your time.